Hello, YouTube. Forgive me if the lighting, I almost sat on the kitty cat. If the lighting is a little weird or this cuts off. I had to go get a new phone yesterday because I dropped mine into a toilet. We do things in life sometimes that we can get frustrated about. Yesterday was one of those days that was a series of tiny frustrations. The saying, don't cry over spilt milk, is really true. We see different people have a different capacity to cope with situations. What may work one individual up is not going to work another individual up. The difference between what sets you off, how many little tiny things that are really insignificant, a lot of the problems that we have in life aren't really that big of a deal. A lot of the problems that we have in life are just an accumulation of stress, little tiny stressors, and it's going to be your coping skills that allow you to get through those tiny stressors. Sorry that the lighting keeps shifting. I don't know why that's happening. This is the first time I've used this camera. But basically, there's enough real problems. I used to say that life is easy, even though I was very unhappy. I used to say that life was easy because I was wrapped up in unconsciousness and unawareness. To be conscious and try to control yourself so that you are in the best possible disposition to be a kind, loving, controlled individual who makes proper choices for yourself and those around you, it takes effort. It takes effort. People seem to think that those people that are just generally chill, and some people are gifts and they have that as their basic disposition. Other people think that that's a given. These people are somehow magic robots and they don't have emotions. Yes, some of us are more prone to be emotionally thin-skinned, either because we haven't experienced problems in life very much, so a tiny problem, like not being able to unlock your locker, will just throw you into complete overwhelm. Or, when you learn skills of coping, you learn to recognize that the fact that you've lived a life so nil of problems, that a tiny problem is beyond your capacity to deal, is actually a blessing. In those moments, if you can use your coping skill of turning your mind to the things that you are grateful for and recognize that this is a small, everyday kind of a problem, it will pass. Time passes. Nothing is permanent. It's not a big deal. There will be someone to help you. Just take a pause, take a step back, gather your breath, gather yourself. And when you're in a more observational, less emotional frame of mind, take it for what it really is, but count your blessings. If you've had a life so minimal that dropping and breaking a cell phone, or not being able to unlock your locker combination, or a tiny problem like that will throw you into a tizzy, and it's not like it's the 45th problem you've had in the last 45 minutes, then, or there's some other real huge problem like a job loss, a home loss, a family death going on in your life that's already has you peaked, then you've led a pretty lucky life. You've been kept and you've been safe. You have many things to count as blessings, and that can help you redirect this. However, some people are left in those situations where they can't cope with tiny problems because they weren't taught coping skills. There's a positive to be said about having tiny adversities or some adversity in our life, because we have to learn how to handle it. It toughens us up. It makes us able to deal with a higher level of these tiny things being insignificant. If you ask the people who've been through the most traumatic things that a person can go through, false imprisonment, Holocaust survivors, these are some of the most laid back people, because they've seen hell. They've been through hell. So tiny things don't get them down. I'm not saying to go drag yourself through hell so that you build up a tough exterior. We've all had bad experiences, legitimately traumatic experiences. You can use that as a fuel to help you cope with other things. When life throws you lemons, or you throw them at yourself, like I did when I dropped my phone in the toilet, that, you know, all things considered, this is not a big deal. We can live without it. We may feel like we can't live without it, but it may be a lesson in learning detachment, and that you can live without more things than you think you can. B, it may be a lesson in abundance, that you can afford more than you think you can. You may quantify yourself as a poor person when really you have finances in the bank to go replace that phone. You're not counting what you have. There are people who are debating between medication and gas in their car, and here you are able to walk up to the cell phone store and just fix the problem. That's amazing. That's a luxury. That means you're doing okay for yourself. If you can go without it, without having cell phone withdrawals in our current culture, that's a good thing. Maybe you might actually go walk across the street and go have a cup of coffee with your neighbor that you've been putting off forever. If you look at tiny problems as they are in perspective, step back when you are emotionally overwhelmed. Step back and assess why this little problem is having this immense impact on you. Because in the totality of your life, you're not going to remember this a week from now. It's not really a big deal, but it's taking a toll on your nervous system. It's taking moments away from your life. Why is this happening? Not, oh my God, why is this happening to me? Oh dear Lord. But no, why is this emotional reaction happening to me? Do I have another large stressor and I need to take it easier on myself overall? How have I been taking care of myself? Have I been sleeping and eating well? Have I been giving myself time? Or am I just peaked on all life's little stressors? And I need to de-stress in general because I don't have the capacities to go out in the world and perform like a healthy, rational individual anymore. If some individual does something tiny, like cuts me off in traffic or says something that I don't like, am I going to react poorly because clearly I cannot handle the situation? Is the situation really that big of a deal, or is it an opportunity to grow in patience, waiting to replace the thing that's broken? Patience, waiting for assistance to fix the thing that's broken. Coping, practice in pausing, taking a step back, assessing the situation, realizing that it's not a big deal. Practice in patience to go without, practice of awareness of your own abundance, an opportunity to try other things. Why? What is this going to do for me besides be a problem? Why am I reacting this way to tiny little problems? Do I need to learn more coping skills? Do I need to de-stress? How can I utilize this to my own advantage? How can I see this as a blessing instead of a curse? And when you look at other people and you see them react poorly, how you judge to be poorly in a situation over something that is perceivably small. Take into consideration, there's not one among us that has not lost their cool over some little dumb thing at some point in your life. So judge not lest you be judged. It's not our place to judge others, for one. For two, we're all guilty at some point or another, some of us several points, of having a bad attitude or a meltdown over some tiny thing. B, you don't know what their history is. Perhaps they had a wonderful life. They have never been taught how to deal with basic things. When I went to college, many of my dorm mates didn't know how to do a load of laundry because they'd never been taught it. They were overwhelmed by trying to operate the washing and drying machine because their parents took care of all of that stuff for them and didn't equip them with the basic skills to take care of themselves. So basic skills of taking care of oneself were overwhelming, let alone problems if something went wrong in those situations. That these people just have a lower threshold because they haven't experienced the same things and they don't know that they have the lower threshold. So they're only reacting the same way you would for a major problem. Like if your car breaks down when you're already late for work or you've got to rush your kids somewhere and they're running up on their attendance at school and that may get you into trouble, or you're late for them taking them to daycare, or you need to pick up your medications and you're a little flustered. So don't jump to conclusions on other people, period, because we've all been there. We're all guilty of it. 2, we don't know their history. We don't know their threshold. 3, you don't know what's happening in another person's life outside of this tiny situation that you are viewing. You don't know what else they're going through that may have led them to already be up to here when this tiny thing happens and then they just crumble to the floor. So don't react. Allow. Console. Be accepting. Realize that we're not that much different from each other. Don't comment. Don't criticize. Don't add fuel to the fire of someone else's meltdown, and don't judge them for it. And when you're ready to melt down over tiny things, use it as a moment. Be self-aware enough to recognize that you're about to melt down over something that is tiny. In that very moment, what's happening in that moment? Not how you feel all the way from whatever other circumstances or for whatever other reasons, but in that very moment, what's happening? And is it really such a big deal? Why are you feeling that way? Take time to take a step back from the situation. Breathe deeply. Calm your body down. Put some cold water on your face if you have to. The dive response right around here. Count. Pace. Go step outside and look at the sky. Take a breather until you can be in a more rational frame of mind, and then assess the situation for what it is. Perhaps even laugh at the situation. And then you can address the situation coming from a more rational standpoint instead of melting down. If you're at work and this is a coworker, politely just one moment and excuse yourself to the bathroom and catch your breath there. Just pause it, take a step back, regain calibration, and then reapproach the situation and the person instead of freaking all out on them, vomiting your emotionality over other things on them, or crumpling or lashing out over nothing. Don't cry over spilled milk. And don't judge others for doing so, because we've all been there and we don't know what their story is. We don't know what's going on. And maybe this is just practice for them, and it's practice for you too, to recognize when you've overdrawn your energy bank accounts, when you've been doing too much, when you have been through hell and come out the other side and some simple problem is overwhelming you. Something is off kilter and you need to address it. And when it is an object or a situation where you have to use skills, take it as an opportunity. Try to take every little problem as an opportunity to learn something new, learn to approach people for help when you have a problem. Can't get into your locker, can't get the washer to work, with humility that perhaps you don't know everything. And maybe you'll meet a friend. If you lose or break your cell phone or some object that you are addicted to, like your computer or your games, it's an opportunity to go explore the real world and real people. Write a letter, draw a picture, have a real conversation with a real human being somewhere. And if your car don't work when you need to get to work, to pull up your grown-up pants and make the calls that you need to make, attend to the problems that you need to attend to, instead of falling apart, to the best of your ability. And you will feel proud at the end. Instead of feeling frustrated, you will feel proud. And perhaps you will learn the city bus system while you wait for your car. Perhaps there's a coworker who's willing to drive you temporarily if you ask and offer gas. It gives you a chance to utilize your brain, your neural network, to solve this problem and to show yourself that you can handle life's little lemons with maturity and creativity, and feel proud of yourself rather than discouraged. So when life throws you little lemons, or throws others little lemons, don't freak out. And don't freak out on other people for freaking out. Allow them. Because you don't understand and you've been there. Key one is to just be aware of where you are and that you are freaking out over a tiny little lemon, you're crying over spilt milk, and analyze why that is, how it's an opportunity, what you can do here. Take a pause and bring yourself back down to an emotional norm, and then approach the problem appropriately. Love you guys. Bye YouTube. Camera test. Take one. Kitty. You can't even see her, but she's here being adorable. Love you guys. Bye YouTube.